So this is a bit more seamless stuff.
Relaxing.
Yes.
So far, seamless and civilized. Hey there, everyone. I'm Don, Professor Goway, and welcome to the Industry Insider webinar. Here from expert guests, including conservationists, explorers, tourism professionals, and everyday globetrotters to discover fascinating stories in the world of travel and be inspired to travel far and to travel often. Inspire, motivate, and educate. Goway Pro Industry Insider webinar. Now, today we're talking about groups. And with me, we have Melissa and Jennifer. Now, Jennifer oversees our groups on a day-to-day basis. Is that fair generalization, Jennifer?
Yep. Pretty much sums it up,
Okay.
Don.
Pretty much sums it up, easy. And Melissa is relatively somewhat new to Goway and to Goway groups. Melissa, you've been involved with us in groups for about 2 years. Is that correct?
Just shy of 2 years, yes.
Just shy of 2 years. So on a more sort of intimate level, Jennifer, where are you sitting right now? In what state or province? Or
I
whatever?
am sitting in the big city of Brandon, Manitoba, where I am covered. I'm looking outside and the snow has arrived. So yes.
Right. For those that are listening in, you probably hear an accent from me. I'm actually sitting in Mexico. I'm on holidays while we're doing this, but I have no problems chatting to our colleagues where they are. So the white wall is very deceiving. I'm actually looking out to the Pacific Ocean, and you might hear in the background a very soft rhythmical rumbling of the ocean bouncing away. But normally I'm based in Toronto, from Australia originally. Jennifer, as you probably hear, has an accent from Ireland. And the last time we did this, as we just spoke about off air, so to speak, Jennifer was in the wind in Dublin as we were trying to have a chat, which was a little bit challenging to say the least. So, Melissa, where are you sitting and coming to us from?
So I am in St. John's, Newfoundland. So I live in the most easterly city in North America. I'm actually closer to Europe than many of our colleagues who work in Vancouver. So, yeah.
There you go. So in this modern world, we are spread all over the world coming to you today to talk about groups. Now, Melissa, that doesn't sound like an East Canada accent you have.
Get a couple beers in me and the accent will come out.
Oh, really? So you are from there originally as well?
I grew up in Labrador, and my parents both are from Newfoundland. So yeah, I'm East Coast through and through. But
okay.
I've been told sometimes some people say I have a little bit of an accent, but it does tend to speed up if I get really excited or I have a couple cocktails.
Oh, okay. So maybe next time we do this, we'll have a cocktail in hand to hear the accent come out.
There you go. Good idea. A few margaritas on the go, Don.
There you go.
There we go. Okay, so we're here today to talk about groups, and what we wanted to do, because we have Melissa, who's somewhat new and has been very, very successful within the Goway Groups department with her bookings, and Jennifer, who's got the experience behind her, and again, who oversees Melissa and the rest of our team. Jennifer, how many people do we have in our groups department?
We have almost 40 people. I think from a group specialist point of view, we have 32. 32 and growing.
There we go. And
you're going to make fun of my 30, aren't you? Yes, he is.
I am going to make fun of your 32. I love it. Yeah. Okay, so by that, you can see that Goway has a very large groups department. It's probably one of the largest in North America, and bit of bias, probably one of the most successful as well. So as we chat here today, I've run groups in the past as well, not with Goway necessarily, but in a previous life. So we all have groups experience, some older, some newer. And I guess the point of bringing that up is anyone out there who is new to groups, listen to what Melissa says, because she has found success. So even though it might be a new world to you, or even if you're an experienced group person, listen to both Jennifer and Melissa, because they're going to have lots of tips and tricks to get us through. Now, the way we thought we'd sort of get into this today is we're going to do a bit of role playing. So I'm going to speak to Melissa and Jennifer as an agent out there who's never done a group before, and sort of ask them questions about how to get a group up and running. And the premise I'll use is something I'm familiar with. I coach rugby, so we're going to use rugby as the impetus. And as an aside, now I know rugby's it's a growing sport in North America, but just so agents out there know, rugby is an international game, as I say, played here in the US and Canada, huge in Europe, huge in the South Pacific. Include there Fiji, the islands, New Zealand, of course, Australia, South Africa, Namibia, Italy, Georgia, Scotland, etc. So if anyone's looking, well, I guess one of the things that we talk about when we talk about with groups, and we've had this conversation with Jennifer before, is what type of groups are out there. Rugby is a big one to look at because most rugby teams always like to do an end of season tour, and most of these end of season tours are to some of the exotic destinations I just mentioned. So there's a lot of relevance here in using the rugby example. So let's get it going. So let's start with Melissa. So Melissa, I'm a new agent. I say to you, I'm a rugby coach, and I want to take my team to, let's go something I know, Australia at the end of the year. How do I go about organizing this? How do I get the word out? Like, basically, how do I do it?
Well, since, Don, that you are interested in rugby, that's a good start. If you cater a group to something that you're interested in, then it's going to be a lot easier to sell it, because it's so much easier to sell something that you are passionate about or you're inspired about, you get excited about, because that comes through when you are marketing your group and trying to gain your clientele. So that's a great start right there. The second step, obviously, would be to narrow down the destination. So again, somewhere that you would like to visit yourself or you have knowledge of. If you don't already have knowledge of, then you can do some research. And of course, as group specialists, we're here every step of the way to guide you and to give you some extra knowledge where you might be lacking. So the more that you can bring to the table when you're selling your group, the more successful that it will be.
Now, do I have to, as an agent or anyone, let's not use the word agent, as a group coordinator, as I'm trying to coordinate this group, do I need to know about the subject matter? So, like, yes, I'm a rugby coach in this example, but if I had a client come to me and he was or she was the rugby coach and said that to me, if I come to you, and again, we're using rugby as an example, let's say it could be a painting group, photography group, a knitting group, a foodie group. But if I didn't have that knowledge about the subject matter, Goway Group's available to help me out. And let's throw that one at Jennifer.
Yeah, I think absolutely. I think the key there, Don, and we've spoken about this before, is whether this is you're deciding you're putting this group together, but you don't have your people yet, which is what we call a spec group. I think what Melissa said there, it's very important. If you're putting a spec group together, it's important that you're passionate about the subject matter, because you're going to be able to obviously promote it to those to your people and create excitement about it. If it's a case that you've got a group, somebody coming to you and saying, yes, do you know what, I have a group of artists that want to go to France and explore, do a painting trip in France, you don't necessarily need to know anything about that. That's where our group specialists will be able to guide you and tell you, okay, that's great. Let's look at who your group are. Give us all of the information and we will put together an itinerary that matches what your group is looking to do. Does that make sense,
Okay.
what I've just said?
Yeah, of course it does. Yeah. So in summary, if someone's coming to our groups department, it's ideal that you know and or have a passion about the subject matter or the destination, as the case may be. But it's not imperative that we have the support and the inside knowledge to either resource it for you, or we already know that in-house because we've done and we have done lots of sports groups before. So really, you don't need to know about the game of rugby. You need to know how to organise a sports group.
There you go. I told you before, Don, we had a group of funeral directors who wanted to go and
Yes.
explore different funeral homes in Europe. Like, that's pretty unique. I can tell you,
Yes.
our group specialists weren't up to speed on funeral homes, but they were on the destination. So they were able to,
Right.
put it together with the help of our amazing partners that we have in the destinations as well. So listen, every group is different.
Yeah, 100%. And again, that's an example that Jennifer's used many times. And it's a great one because it is so, well, I don't want to say extreme, but it's very, very different. Unexpected, I think is probably a better word, from any travel agent getting a request to travel somewhere based on a theme, being funeral directors. Okay, so I come to you. I've got the passion. I love the game. I know a little bit about it. I know that, there are certain clubs. Now, again, On the flip side, there are some intricacies to certain groups that would be beneficial that the group coordinator comes to you with. So, like in a rugby or a sports situation, knowing local clubs that you want to play games against would be beneficial from Goway's point of view because we can put together the accommodation, get you there, etc. But we don't know all the local clubs unless, of course, it's a big sporting event like a World Cup, soccer, rugby, whatever, and then we can help out with those large groups. Let me backtrack. So on that point, how many people, Melissa, do I need to come to you with to work with you to do a group anywhere for that matter?
So for most of our destinations, all that's needed is 10 paying adults. For our North America destinations right now, for a group, it is 10 rooms. But for most of our destinations, it is just 10 adults, so 5 couples. It doesn't take a lot to reach that 10 minimum. So, North America, most of the hotels, unfortunately, a lot of their group contracts require a minimum of 10 rooms, so it's a little bit more. But most of our destinations, small groups is common.
Okay, and it's key to point out there when Melissa said 10 adults for that, not 3 parents and 6 children. 10 adults is the minimum. And those who've listened to us before should know this answer, but I'll ask it for any new listeners we have. A deposit is required when a group is being discussed. And Melissa, how much is that deposit, please?
So the deposit to book a group, the land package with Goway is $1,000 total for the group. So it's not a per person deposit, it's a total. It can be paid all at once or it can be paid by multiple payments, but the total is $1,000 per group.
Okay. And again, based on our 10 people minimum, that equates to about $100 per person, which is reasonable to get a group going. And again, as Melissa mentioned, that's for the land package. Now, if you are to look at something that includes maybe a cruise or going back to the sports team, if you are looking to join, say, the World Cup in XYZ country, there may be additional deposits payable upfront sooner than other things. So, like obviously tickets to a World Cup would have to be paid earlier, generally non-refundable, etc. So each group will be different, as they all are. So deposits will vary based on what the final structure is. Okay, so Melissa, I've come to you. We've discussed rugby, Australia. I know the 3 or 4 games you want to play and where they're going to be. Can you help us out with getting my group to Australia from, let's say Mexico City, where I'm at, or nearby now? So in other words, can you help us out with the airfare?
Absolutely. Most of our groups wouldn't be departing from Mexico City, but most of them will be from the U.S. or Canada. But yes, we can do group airfare, which is really beneficial because it gets everybody on the same flight, paying the same price. So you can also block that space with a deposit. It's usually a per seat deposit. Depending on the destination and the class of service and all of that could vary, but it secures the space, and then you still have some time to pay the total and also time to give us the names and all of the passenger information as well.
So let's say I'm talking about doing my trip in, let's say, May next year for the sake of conversation, and I'm confident I'm going to have a team of 30 people traveling, right? That is one big hurdle jump. So to go back to Jennifer's point, this is not a spec group. This is a group of 30 people I know want to travel. If the price is right, they'll go. So to hold those air seats, so you come back and say, right, Don, I've got 30 seats from, let's go to something more practical, from Toronto into Sydney. How long can you actually hold those seats while my team make up their mind about whether they want to go or can go?
It varies depending on the airline. Sometimes we can put an option on the flights. Other airlines require a deposit for us to hold space, but we can communicate that with the group specialist as needed. One thing I will definitely bring up, it was important for you to mention that it was not a spec group for travel in May. If it is a spec group where you do not already have your passengers, we recommend at least 12 to 18 months prior to travel for us to be able to get the group booked, and also you have time to market and sell it.
Okay, so now there's 2 very key distinctions. I've come to you with a group of people who know where they want to go, what they want to do when they're there. But even if I had that outlined and I wanted to give myself more time to, as you say, market and sell, the suggestion is 12 to 18 months ahead for any group is ideal, though you can deal with last minute requests based on availability, of course.
That is correct.
Okay, so we've held the seats. We've got the destination. In this instance, we know it's not a spec group. I've got people coming, though I don't know if they are actually going to buy in because I haven't got the price from you yet. So using this example, we fly into Sydney. I've got games around the area, but I want accommodation for my group. We don't want it to be all rugby, so we want some day tours here and there, to all the, basically the usual suspects. Then we want transportation from our hotel to our particular games and maybe a few other things thrown in. This is all doable by Goway groups, of course.
Absolutely. We can tailor make everything. It's literally finding out what your requirements are, even if it's a case that you've organized your games separately, for example, or you're doing coaching sessions, or and you've organized that with the coaches on the ground in Sydney. That's okay. We can still get you from A to B. We can organize, team get-togethers, anything you like. It's all doable.
All right.
Yep.
Okay. Now, just going back to flights and as an extension to the land arrangements, let's talk the flight specifically. Can people book the seats that you've held or have on deposit with points as well? Or does it need to be based? And this is I do not know the answer to this one. When you do a group air booking, does it all need to be paid in cash per se, or can some people use points? Can they use their upgrade points, all that type of thing? How much flexibility do we have with people using their choice of point system, etc., when booking air?
I can answer this one. There's no, if you want to use air miles or points or Avion, whatever points people have, you would have to book that directly with the point system of the airline. For group air, it's a set price. As Melissa said, the great thing about it is if we're blocking seats for 30 people, for example, every single one of those 30 people are going to be paying the same price unless they've opted to upgrade or, extra legroom seats, that type of thing. But if people want to use points or air miles or anything like that, no, they would have to book that directly with the airline. So they would not be included in that air group booking, but they can be included with everything else, like with the transfers and all of the land elements, but they wouldn't be included in the group airspace.
Right. So if I'm a person who's joining this group and I want to use my air miles because I have priority, et cetera, like that, you would obviously tell me the flight that everyone else is booked on. Yeah. I can attempt to book on that flight and at least be on the same plane. If for any reason I can't get on that flight or I want to arrive earlier, the coordination of that type of passenger, I shouldn't say that type of passenger, the person choosing to use alternate air arrangements, be it points or otherwise, obviously we can coordinate when they arrive early to get them to the hotel, give them an extra couple of nights before the group arrives, all that type of stuff.
Yeah,
absolutely.
All of our arrival and departure transfers are going to be based off of one flight number. So ideally, we're going to have everybody on the same flight. But if the case happens where we don't, we either can add individual extra transfers for additional cost, of course, or those passengers can make their own way to meet the group at the hotel.
Sure, of course. Now, as an extension of that from a land package point of view, so I, as the group coordinator, say, right, I'm going to sell the following trip. It's 14 days. We have 3 rugby games. We're going to do a harbour cruise, go to the Hunter Valley, whatever. And then between the two of us, as in Goway and the group coordinator in question, we work out a price. Is the pricing that you give to me gross less a commission, or is it a net, or is there a choice?
It depends on the agency, John. So some consortia that we work with will have a gross rate. So we'll provide, that gross commissionable rate to the agent. Or if you have a net rate, that's no problem as well. We will advise you of that and say, this is a net rate. It's very important that you mark up to the price that you want to sell it at, because obviously we're all in the business of making money. So yeah.
So you will also offer advice, particularly for a newer agent, on what a suggested markup is if the trip is being offered to them at net.
Absolutely. Yeah, And
Okay.
we can have, like Melissa would have that discussion with the travel agent as well. If it's a case that we offer a net rate and they say, well, actually, I'd love to be able to, I'd love to make 14% commission on that. Melissa can build that in as well and offer that gross rate. There's no problem with that at all. And that's why it's
Okay.
really important for us to have those conversations from the beginning, especially when we're dealing with newer agents who aren't familiar with how groups work, that we have those conversations early on.
Okay. Now, again, back to the land option. So we have we have the 14-day trip that we've now come to an agreement on. I've got a net. I'm going to go out and mark it up, so I'm happy. And then obviously Goway's happy as well. But I now say to you, most of my trip is a 14-day rugby focused trip. But I know some of my clients or my friends or whatnot, they want to then maybe go up to Cairns, to the Barrier Reef, or go to Brisbane or go to Melbourne. Can we build on some add-on packages per se that can be extended? Again, understanding the airfare impact here as well. But if I want to go out and so here's your 14-day rugby trip, but here's 3 7-day extensions to different destinations within Australia. Can you also do that for me?
Yeah, I can answer that, Melissa, if you want. Yeah, we certainly can. Like, the bottom line is, for it to be a group, we have to have the 10 adults doing the same itinerary. Okay, that is considered a group.
Okay.
However, that's not to say at the end of their trip, people might say, well, we're all the way in Australia, we want to go off and explore. And you might have
Exactly.
4 other passengers that decided they want to go and explore Australia. If we can't do it in the groups division, what we'll do is we have our great friends in our wholesale and FIT division that will be able to put packages together. But by all means, if we can keep it in-house in the groups division, we will do that. So to answer your question, absolutely. Like, a lot of people, especially if they're going further afield, they may want to do the whole group trip, and they might want to, veer off at the end or extend or do a pre-stay as well. Absolutely. Where there's a will, there's a way. We can make it work.
Okay. So basically it can be done. The only exception to the logistics is maybe you would deal with one of our FIT people for the stuff outside the group.
Yeah.
Possibly, but
Possibly.
Again, ideally, possibly. Okay.
You'll stay within
Fine.
Goway, put it that way. It'll stay within the Goway
100%.
family, but if we can still look after it, we will.
Okay. Now, I have my clients, some are going to book their trip with a credit card through my agency, and they're telling me that their insurance on their credit card is enough. But I've got a couple of people who would like to top up their insurance or don't have travel insurance. Can you do, I guess, group insurance, or is it just individual insurance policies for those who want it?
Insurance is issued on an individual basis. So it is an individual passenger who would be purchasing a policy for themselves, but we can offer that. The important thing to note about our insurance that we do offer is it will only cover the services that are organized by Goway Travel. So, for example, if this passenger went ahead and booked their own air and didn't take the group air with us, then we would only be able to insure the land package for that passenger.
Understood. And I think it's also important to point out too here that, and this is really not just the groups world with Goway, but even FIT, where we do have some people who'll take 80% of what Goway offers on their quote, but then do 20% directly through, Airbnb or whatever it may be, or book their own airfare due to points, etc. Goway will always be there to assist you should something go wrong with those services not booked with Goway. Like, we're not going to leave you high and dry simply because you didn't book it with us. But please understand, I think as Melissa just pointed out, that from a true backup point of view, getting money back, all that type of thing, unless it's booked with Goway, we have much less leeway to throw our weight around to assist you should things go wrong. And that's a long way of saying it's ideal that if you can put everything via Goway, so should things go wrong, and it can happen, rarely, but it does go on, that we have total flexibility and power to make it right for you, depending on what has gone wrong for you. And that includes airlines, though they're a bit harder to deal with, as I think most people in the industry understand that. But ideally, if you can keep it all through Goway, it'll be much easier should things need to be adjusted, fixed, tweaked, etc. Was that a fair statement for both of you?
Absolutely. And you know what? I'm just happy you brought up the insurance conversation, Don, because it's just so important. And that's just to get that out to everybody. People don't think they need it until they need it. So
Yeah.
it's just a reminder. And we deal with it on a regular basis. And thankfully, we will always recommend insurance. But inevitably, it comes down to you, the travel agent, that you're making sure that you're telling your clients to protect their trip. But not only protecting their trip, also you break your leg while you're in Thailand, you want to make sure that you've got really good, ample medical coverage while you're there. So it's, and obviously this is not unique to groups. This is just for people who decide to hop on a plane and travel somewhere. Just make sure you've got coverage.
Yeah, 100%. It's a legal obligation by travel agents to advise their clients to get insurance. They can't make them if the client refuses or chooses to go elsewhere. That's fine. But please make sure, as Jennifer said, that you put it out there. And the amount of times I think we all have collectively seen someone who didn't get, like I had an example many years ago, a gentleman and his partner, wife at the time, I think, booked a trip to Costa Rica. I said, get insurance. No, we'll be fine. They were younger. He broke his ankle, to use your example, about a week before he went, and he couldn't travel. So it's not also what happens when traveling, it's what could happen pre-travel. And we've had too many stories of things that have gone wrong and the client hasn't had insurance. We've done what we can to assist, but if you don't have that insurance, then it can cause a big issue. And again, it might sound obvious, but I think it's worth broaching. Okay, so getting back to a sports-based itinerary, and I did mention World Cups and all that type of thing. Does Goway get involved in those really big events like the World Cups, any big festivals? I know we did in the past, I think the firemen's, police and firemen's thing in the past. So just so everyone knows, Goway does start at 10, but we've done up to probably 2, 3, 4, 5,000 people on extreme groups and events. So is Goway in a position geared to set up to handle those super big, famous worldwide events as well?
Yeah, watch this space. Obviously, with World Cups coming up and stuff like that, we are seeing inquiries for it now. Like we've got the FIFA World Cup coming up. We've even seen some inquiries coming in for the Olympics in LA, which I think is only in 2028. So people are obviously thinking ahead.
Yeah.
It's hard for us. Is securing the tickets and all that type of stuff. So, but as I said, watch this space. Yes, our groups start at 10. But we have done really large groups as well. Like we've done the likes of Pride in Australia last year. We do big groups around marathons around the world. Obviously, it's people, those crazy runners love to go and travel and do marathons all around the place. So there is, we certainly do cater for those groups as well. And as I said, I know it's on our plan to grow that side of the business as well. So watch this space.
One thing I'll add to just note about events. While we do them, key is to book early so that we can get the space, and also know that a lot of times when there's events going on, prices can be higher and they will require extra deposits to hold space because of that event going on.
And
so go on, Jennifer.
I was going to say a good point to note as well is if you're not going for a certain event, avoid going at that time.
Yes.
Because what we experience, like that's key to note as well, because we just experienced that in Paris with the recent Olympics where people forgot it, or we have people who want to go to London right in the heart, right when the London Marathon is going on. As Melissa said, it drives the prices up because this is a time the hotel can charge much higher rates, and availability is an issue. Traffic is an issue. It's great if you're going for that event, brilliant. But if you're not going to that event, that's where we can advise you and say, do you know what? You might be better off in tweaking your dates because you're going to get better bang for your money and you're going to have a different experience as well. So there's two sides of that.
Yeah, and that's a key thing to point out too, because while groups travel is not, it's not complicated, which I hope that people are picking up today. There's some key questions and procedures and things to be mindful of, like any type of booking. But I've experienced this when we had the Olympics in Rio at the time, and we were looking at FIT and group work as well. And because a lot of these big events, Olympics, etc., World Cups, are owned by the governing bodies, they dictate a lot of rules, regulations, pricing, the whole thing. So group travel during those times for those events can be a little bit more complicated as well. So just be prepared for that. And of course, the natural price increase. And it's not us, putting the prices up. It's the governing bodies who dictate a lot of that. So just be aware of that.
I was going to say, Don, I think it's important,
Yes.
especially with the FIFA World Cup coming up next year. It's important to us to say right now, yes, we can look after flights, we can look after hotels. As it stands right now, is we're not offering tickets so if any soccer fans are out there, we're not offering the actual tickets because, again, as you said, Don, a lot of governing bodies will offer the tickets. So we can help with everything else, but not the actual official tickets.
Yeah, so a good way to think about working with us for the big events and primarily sporting events, I think we're talking about here, is look to us for everything other than the tickets at this stage, because again, it is locked up by third parties, which we just cannot get into. And if we can, it's again inflated pricing. But really, the tickets is easy. You just go onto the line, you get it. It's all the logistics that go around it, which is the really hard part, which is what Goway can do and has been doing for years. Okay, so we've come to an agreement. We've got my trip. We've got some add-ons at the end I want to sell out there. So to that point, any suggestions? Now, again, we're talking almost in this example, me as a coach with a rugby team having a captive audience. But still, I need to convince people that my pricing is good, that what they're getting for their money is good. Now, if we're talking a spec group and using rugby, and I'm just going out to the rugby community, what are your suggestions and what is your support in promoting and marketing this to my group of friends and colleagues?
I can jump in, Melissa, if you want on this one. So again, it'll all come down to that conversation, the qualifying questions that we're having at the beginning when we're talking about your group. If it's a case that you're dealing with a spec group, Melissa or whoever your group specialist is will talk about and say, well, what is your marketing plan? How are you going to promote that? And we would give lots of ideas, like, again, putting stuff out in social media, getting social media tiles. We can have our marketing team do those up for you. We can get flyers done up. What we're seeing great success with right now is we will offer free presentations for your groups as well. So if it's a case that you have, I'm literally doing one tonight for Egypt. So if you have a case that, you've got a group going to Egypt and you don't have your people yet, what we would do is we would come on and do a presentation, most likely in the evening time when people are finished work. And the travel agent would then put it out to their social media channels and say, hey, who wants to come to Egypt, come along to a free event tonight. And then we would come on and talk about the itinerary. And it's a great way. Then you'll have Q&A. And what we're finding now is people are doing that right at the early booking stage, might even be a quote stage. So we recommend do it early on and fill that tour early. So you know how successful it's going to be, instead of waiting until sort of a lastminute.com situation. We're recommending which has happened where, it might be a case that you booked a trip in March and it's not going for 18 months. So you don't really think about it until, a year's time. And then you're like, oh my God, I've done nothing with that group. We don't want you to be in that situation. So when you book your trip to Ireland, I'm biased, Melissa knows this. When you book your trip to Ireland with Melissa in November, Melissa's going to be talking to you in December or January and say, okay, how are you getting on with that trip? What do we need to do to help you? And that's where Melissa will say, I'm just back from Ireland. Let's do a presentation. Let's generate some interest, be it, again, social media posts, putting it out to the Irish Association of Newfoundland or wherever it might be. But we're at the end of the day, we want your group to travel. You want your group to travel. So we're here to assist. And we do have our wonderful account managers as well, who will touch base with you. Like they're there as a resource as well. And they can certainly provide useful insight as well. What's worked in the past? What's trending now? So we're in it together. I suppose that's the message I'm trying to get across. It's not a book it and run type of situation. It's a journey.
Okay, so just on that, 2 points I'd like to bring up or ask you about. So when you say do a presentation, now I used to do this for our groups department if it was local in Toronto, so I'd actually go out in person. Now it's a different world. So your presentation tonight, I would assume you're basically dialing in remotely for the group.
I wish I was traveling somewhere. Yeah, I'm staying in Brandon, Manitoba. So literally we're going to have a Zoom meeting with, and this particular agent's based in New Jersey. So she has all of her
Okay.
clients in New Jersey. We'll have it at 7 p.m. Eastern time, and they'll all join the meeting. And she'll record it as well, so she can put it out to her social channels after if people couldn't make it. And a great tip that normally we recommend with these presentations as well is to have a call to action. Normally it might be like a little early booking bonus or something like that. And here at Groups Only, we're always offering different incentives as well. Like right now we're running a promotion where you book a group, I believe it's until the end of December, you get a free gathering where, you can get people together before you go away. And that's the type of stuff that we'll share on the presentation as well.
Yeah, baby!
So to answer, people for the most part are going to join remotely. I did have a group in Brandon, Manitoba, who, again, I'm biased, are looking to go to Ireland. So I'm going to go down to the travel agency and talk in person to the people wanting to go to Ireland. But unfortunately, it doesn't work out that easily all the time. So
Yeah, of course. And actually, in your answer there, you preempted my next question or not so much a question, a suggestion that when you are speaking to, say, Melissa in this instance, about your group and either gross or net structure, you should always consider building in a little bit of a buffer that you can discount your trip either out of the gate or as a last minute booking thing. So you have that saving built into your financial plan per se, but also be conscious that if you are selling your trip for $1,500 today, and then you are short of a few seats and you want to incentivize people, and you then knock $100 or $200 off, be conscious of the fact that you had people pay $1,500 to start with. So this is the world of discounts and marketing. You have to make sure you don't upset people who booked early with you versus the people you're trying to get through the door. So these conversations, again, will be had in the early days, so you can make this plan and not sort of get, as Jennifer said, get caught last minute going, what do I do situation. But it's always good to build that little extra buffer in for any discounting you may want to do, because you, as the group coordinator, are the marketer for this particular group. And something else Jennifer mentioned too is it doesn't have to just be you. You can go out to local associations. So like using the rugby thing, I would initially think the club I coach for was who I'd hit up with. But the good thing about rugby, it's a universal sport. It's a very communal sport. So I don't have to hit just my club. I can hit all the clubs in Toronto. So again, think of other associations that have a shared interest in your subject matter who would be willing to maybe promote your trip as well.
And to that note, Don, another great way of gaining passengers, especially if it's a niche like that, like a specific, you can't just market to anybody who may or may not like rugby. You're going to want people who like rugby. So having some kind of incentive where if you have someone that's booked on your trip and then they bring someone along, like they get more passengers to book, like a referral type of incentive, that's really popular with those types of groups especially, but you can use that for anything. But building that in so that
100%.
Ultimately it doesn't cost you money. You've already factored in those promotions so that it's just an extra bonus. It looks like an extra bonus for them on the marketing side of things. An extra bonus.
And I think,
you can go back to some basics as well. I'm thinking sporting, rugby, soccer, book your trip by this, get a free jersey. Like there's different things like that you can do that. Let's be real, we all love something free, or we all love to get something extra. So, and the really nice thing about groups is you can be as creative as you want to be. Like we love creativity. That's what we're all about. But as Melissa said, it's important, or you've mentioned it as well, Don, it's building in that little bit of a buffer as well, because again, you want to make some money on this trip as well. So it's important that
and I think
you're clever about it.
Yes. Yeah, sorry, Jennifer. Yeah, and I think another key aspect too, which we haven't really touched on, is when you build your itinerary, you want to make it different so your trip is unique to someone else selling a rugby tour. So it could be the opposition you play, which would be in your control per se. But let's say it's a painting group that, in consultation with the groups department, you come up with a really unique location or subject matter that your group can paint, which other trips may not have. A photography thing, you either maybe hook up with a local photographer of note, find a special location, a sunset on a Mexican beach, for argument's sake, that most people don't have access to. And if you can throw those little hooks into your itinerary as well, which won't ideally cost you anything. It's just a bit of organization. And to Jennifer's point, being creative, I think, is key to any group trip, because it's easy to say, I'm doing a yoga trip to Costa Rica. Do you know how many people do yoga trips to Costa Rica? Lots. So you need to build in something unique. Now, the big advantage is working with Goway is, regardless of groups FIT, we have the connections. So we can either suggest something unique, or you might come to us with an idea that's unique. 9 times out of 10, not always, 9 times out of 10, we can probably source it and make that unique happening event location happen for you, throw it into your itinerary, and that becomes the focal point of your marketing scheme. Yoga trip to Costa Rica, but we do this, which a lot of other people may not do. So that's another key marketing tip, I guess, as well as promotional and itinerary creation tip when you're thinking about your particular.
Absolutely. And that's why Goway is such a good partner for your groups, because we can we customize. That's what we do best. We can make your group stand out from all of the other ones that you can get on the internet. You can only get this package by booking through this particular agent. So adding in those extra gems and things that set it aside, put yours ahead of the game.
Okay. So, sorry, go on. Yes, go on, Jennifer.
No, I was just going to say I completely agree with what you've said there, Melissa. And I think what makes this is I'm doing our sales spiel about how good Goway is right now, Don. But I think the great thing about it is our staff have been to the destinations, and they're the one. Like, I'm going to pick on you, Melissa, right now because you're on the call. Like, Melissa did just come back from Ireland, but she didn't do all of course, she did the traditional sites that you must see. But she made a point of going off and, you know what, let's go to that gin distillery that's in County Leitrim that not many people go to. So she was able to go and experience all of those unique things and come back and then be able to say to our travel partners, listen, this is a great, unique activity to do in Ireland. This is because anyone can go into a brochure and see this is the regular thing that people do. I want people to talk to Melissa and say, here's insider information. This is a top tip, because guess what? We've experienced it firsthand. And that's what I really think sets us apart. Whether you're going to India or you're going to, New Zealand or wherever it is, the people that you're dealing with are going to have, be it that they've lived there or they've traveled there or their colleague has been there, it's first-hand experience. And I think that honestly does set us apart from the rest. We don't do we do the cookie cutter itineraries, but we don't, if that makes sense. We want to really go that little bit deeper.
Yeah, I think that's important that you brought that up, because it's something we hadn't touched on. And that's sort of the cornerstone to Goway FIT and groups is the destination specialists knowledge, local knowledge. And again, if the person you're speaking to, let's say I am speaking to Melissa and she knows nothing about rugby, there are people within Goway who do. And I had Nikki, who's one of the group's ladies there as well, come to me because she had a question about a rugby tour, and she came to me asking me on my expertise about rugby in general. So even if the person you're speaking to may not have that immediate knowledge, I can almost guarantee within Goway there'll be someone who has, from photography to artwork to cooking to rugby to soccer, cricket. We have a lot of East Indians working for us who love their cricket. So if you have cricket, that's another up-and-coming game in North America as well. So the knowledge is in-house somewhere within Goway. So you'll definitely get some really first-hand information flowing back towards you.
Yeah, I recently did a pickleball group. That's another up-and-coming sports.
Really?
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, that's huge. Pickleball is insanely big.
I still don't know what that
is,
though. I've heard of pickleball and I hear people, what? I have no idea what pickleball is. We'll not get into that now, will we?
It's like a mini game of tennis stroke paddleball, but at base, as Melissa says, it's huge. And really, it's not sort of a regional sport. It's big worldwide. So that's open to any destination almost. Okay, so we're going to wrap up now, but I think another key thing which we've inferred but haven't really stated outright is when that first or second call happens between yourself and one of the group's people here at Goway, Melissa in this instance, you want to come to us with some questions asked and answered by yourself to your group, or then asked and hopefully answered by the Goway people. So, Melissa, on that note, what would be some key questions and or information to have to get everything up and running?
Yeah, so because everything we do is so customized, qualifying your clients before we start is key. We want to try and nail this out in the first, maybe second quote if possible. So the more information that we have going into it, the better we are, and avoid constant requotes. So you need to know, ask your clients what's the approximate age group that this group is going to consist of. Is there any, mobility issues, different things like that we have to take into consideration. The rooms, is there going to be, are they all single rooms, or is there going to be shared rooms? What are the interests? So what is the purpose of this trip? What are we trying to get out of this trip? Asking these open-ended questions where, will get you more information about what they're looking for from the trip in order to best match certain things. So even if they don't know, like just asking someone, what do you want to see? They might not know. This might be a destination that they had in their mind that they want to visit, but they don't really know exactly what they want to see. This is where we come in. We're going to give those suggestions. But in order to do that, is your client interested in history? Is your client interested in wine or food? Are they,
Right.
into hiking or adventure sports? All of this will be helpful information for us to give you suggestions and cater the itinerary to what they are interested in.
Okay, so now if any of our travel partners out there have the group and they're not sure of some of these questions yet, again, that the first call would be what basically, you come in and say, hey, I'm looking at this. Then Melissa would ask you these questions back at you, and then you go away and clarify those questions to your group, then come back to Melissa, and that's when you would start forming the skeleton of your particular itinerary. But I guess the key aspect is, as Melissa says, you need, as sooner rather than later, for all parties involved to be detailed on what your clients expect and what you expect from Goway in the creation of your group itinerary. So again, if you're unsure of questions to ask, just reach out to one of our group specialists, and they'll have a list. Basically, they do it every day. They know what they need to know, and they can pass it on to you if you're unawares. One other thing before we do say goodbye is one of the big motivators for travel partners out there, group coordinators, in putting a group together is they will generally, in some form or fashion, get to go on the trip themselves for free or very, very highly discounted. So, Jennifer, what is the structure on that? Is there a certain number of paying passengers that equate to a free spot? And again, that can either be used for the group coordinator, or if they go beyond that, they might earn 2 free spots, and that can be used as either an accumulative discount for everyone else, or a free spot to raffle off, for argument's sake.
Yeah.
So, Jennifer, can you just go over that, please?
Yeah, there's no real method to it, Don. Again, that's a question that we will ask at that initial qualifying stage is, are you planning to travel? Would you like to travel for free? Now, that might seem like a silly question. Well, of course I want to travel for free. But depending on the destination, it's a case of... we will ask our partners on the ground, okay, we would like a price bracket of 10 to 15 people, 15 to 20 people. And we would say to them, okay, well, there's actually going to be 2 tour leaders. There might be the tour leader and her partner or his partner, and they both want to travel for free. So we will ask for that pricing. It's not like, I think some travel agents who are used to booking the Sun holidays or the packages, I'll say Sunwings or Transat, they're used to booking 20 seats, get 1 free. It doesn't work like that with groups, and because everything's customized and because we sell the world, we almost have to ask for that to be built into the price. So it's key, again, that you give us that information from the beginning. Melissa would ask the question, okay, Mary, are you planning on traveling on this trip, Mary? Do you want to travel for free? Mary's like, I'm doing all the work. Absolutely, I want to travel for free. And also I want to have a free room in a single room. So that differs from being in a double room. So again, they're all the questions that we ask. But I just want to reiterate, doing a group, it's a brilliant opportunity to get to travel for free and make money while we're doing it too. We see so many of our really successful tour leaders now, a lot of them are retired. It's so funny. They're like, well, do you know what? I'm slowing down in work. So now I've decided I want to travel the world. And what better way to do it than taking a group, because I get to travel for free. I get to make an income for it, and they get to call that work, which is brilliant. So it is a massive perk of it, but it is a conversation we'll have at the beginning.
Okay. And just one other logistic thing I'd like to point out before we do say goodbye, and this is based on what Jennifer mentioned in pricing brackets, 10 to 15, 15, 20, whatever they may be. Sometimes you might see where the price is, again, I'll make this number up, $1,500 from 20 to 25, and you'd expect 25 to 30 to the price to go down, but sometimes it can bump up a little bit. Mm-hmm. And that is because the larger the group, the larger and or more transport you need. So sometimes don't expect it always as it goes up to go down in price. There is a point where it will get cheaper, but there are certain, I guess, humps that you have to get over. And I've just had some experience in the past where people go, why has this gone up in price when I have more people? It's primarily because your transport, like the size of your vehicles, et cetera, go up and it costs them more.
Very destination specific with that. And again, I think people who are historically used to selling sun holidays, you book a hotel in Jamaica. Yeah, the more people you have, the higher the discount. But you're right. If you're dealing with, doing a safari in Tanzania, where you're now going from smaller vehicles to larger ones to having to add on an extra vehicle, that can all drive up the cost as well. But again, that's something that we're going to be able to guide you on. We'll be able to say to you, these are the price brackets. And it's a learning thing.
Yeah. Okay. So, again, it's, and this is the joy, I don't want to say frustration, but the challenge at times of customized travel, FIT or group. Because it is customized, things change based on the trip because everything is unique for the most part. So I think you would have also hopefully heard through our conversation today, the groups really it's not challenging. It's different, but not overly challenging than an FIT booking. And I guess on the flip side of it all, even though there might be a few more moving parts, once you've got it established, your itinerary, your price, your hooks, your marketing plan, you're selling one itinerary to 10, 15, 20, 30, 100 people versus selling 100 different itineraries to 100 different people. So as Jennifer said before, the rewards are much more beneficial, much more financially stronger, I guess, for want of a better term. There might be a bit of extra work in the early days, trying to herd cats, so to speak. But once you've got those cats in the corral, you're off and running with group travel. And again, we have the perfect example of success here with Melissa, 2 years in, and she's one of our top sellers within our groups department. And we have many more like her, a lot of very experienced agents in there. So any group's requests I hope you've picked up from today, we can handle, from sports to special interests to everything. Basically, if you can think of it, 9 times out of 10, Goway can make it happen for you in a very unique, customized, specialized way. So before I go, Melissa or Jennifer, anything else you would like to pass on to our travel partners out there about group travel?
Get booking groups. That's what I would say.
Hey.
Yeah, booking groups can be made easy.
Especially if you're new to groups. I know it can feel daunting sometimes, but this is why we're here to support you every step of the way, from the quoting stage to the booking stage to marketing. And then finally, when they travel, having a partner like us is going to help you be successful.
There you go. I couldn't have said it better.
No, that was
said
good,
beautifully by
Melissa.
Yeah, it was excellent. So on that note, I'd like to thank Jennifer and Melissa for their time today from Manitoba. And I forgot where you were, but out east. Where were you?
Newfoundland.
We're just Newfoundland, like as far east as you can go unless you're in Europe. From sunny Mexico, everyone, thank you very much for your time. Really appreciate it. If you have any questions, please reach out to either Melissa directly. I'll put up their emails as I'm chatting here, Melissa directly or Jennifer or one of the team. They're literally standing by the phones right now to help you out with any group inquiries you may have. You have your account managers out there. If you're not sure of who they are, you can reach out to me. Here's my email. I'll put you in touch with your respective account manager who can also assist with your group inquiries. So on that note, thank you everyone for joining us today. Thank you, Melissa and Jennifer, and we will talk to you soon.
Thank you.
John.
Bye. Bye-bye.
baby.